This episode of Gadget was brought to you by the California Province of the Society of Jesus and Gateway. Hello, and welcome back to Gadget at thetechstop.net. It's the place where it's always time to get your geek on. I'm your host, Father Robert Balloser of the Society of Jesus. I'm a member of the California Province of the Jesuits, the largest religious order in the Catholic Church, and we're here in the Center for Apostolic Technology in Honolulu, Hawaii. Now, if you have a laptop, and that's a laptop from any manufacturer, any make, any model, from Gateway, Dell, HP, from Apple, you understand that they all have one major common problem: heat. That's right, we're increasingly trying to pack a lot of gear into a very small space. CPUs, GPUs, the memory, hard drives, everything that we put in here is going to generate heat, and that heat has to be taken away, otherwise it's going to destroy the components in the notebook. Now, in the past, what manufacturers have done is to use a combination of component placement along with materials and maybe an efficient flow pattern, something that can take heat from the graphics chip and from the hard drive and from the memory and from the CPU and vent it out the back or the side of the laptop. Now, that works as long as the airflow is not restricted and as long as the components aren't generating too much heat. But what we've seen recently is that some manufacturers have to turn down the specs on the parts in order to make the laptop not just last longer, but also to make it not so much a health hazard. Anyone who has had one of the big MacBooks with the aluminum bottoms knows that it can get really, really hot. I mean, to the point where you could only call it a laptop if you expect a first-degree burn every time you drop it on your knees. Now, there have been a couple of solutions that people have tried to use. Most of them have been variation of a theme, which is to just put some sort of material, some sort of structure underneath the laptop to get it extra airflow. Now, these kind of work, and some of them have built-in fans that will feed off of the USB port of your laptop. The problem is that they're kind of bulky, they're not so practical to travel with, and, well, honestly, most of them look kind of cheesy. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a way to cool off our laptops without sacrificing comfort, without sacrificing performance, without sacrificing portability? Well, that's why we're taking a look at the notebook pad from ThermaPAK. The ThermaPAK Heat Shift Pad is a laptop cooler designed to sit between the bottom of your notebook and your table, bed, legs, or whatever else you might use as a desk. Unlike other laptop coolers, the ThermaPAK Pad is completely passive. It has no fans, wires, or heatsinks, and no batteries are required. The top surface of the ThermaPAK Pad has a rigid contour which promotes airflow underneath your notebook and a quilted weave that makes it both flexible and quite durable. It's made of a ballistic nylon and double-stitched to a retention strap around the edges. The underside of the pad is a soft, felt-like material that keeps the pad from scratching any surface it might come into contact with. We've been using the same pad since CES 2009 in January, and it has seen action in more than a dozen cities across the world. One thing is certain: the ThermaPAK Pad is designed to last. Our testing was relatively straightforward. Placing the notebook on a hard surface, we ran a high-definition video stream that would peg the CPU and get the system up to maximum operating temperature. After 30 minutes of running, we measured the temperature with a digital thermometer. After taking averages, we repeated the test with the notebook on a ThermaPAK Pad. The results were pretty conclusive. With the notebook on a solid wood plank, an ideal surface with unobstructed airflow to the bottom of the notebook, and the notebook in a lab with an ambient temperature of 65 degrees, the underside of our notebook reached between 93 and 95 degrees. Running the same test for the same amount of time with a ThermaPAK Pad gave us a maximum temperature of 74 degrees. The ThermaPAK Pad accomplishes this little cooling magic first through the shape of the pad, which allows air to circulate beneath the laptop, but also through the use of ThermaPAK's heat shift technology, a phase-changing material that fills the pad and absorbs the heat from the notebook, changing from a solid to a liquid in the process. The phase-changing material will continue to melt until the entire pad is filled with gel. You then simply let the pad cool, the crystals will reform, and you're ready to go again. The ThermaPAK Heat Shift Pad is available now in 13, 15, and 17-inch sizes for $28 to $35. You can choose between black, white, and pink. I know that the moment this video hits the internet, there are going to be those who point out the fact that the purpose, the goal of the ThermaPAK Pad, and in fact any other cooling device like it, can really be obtained simply by using your notebook as directed. That is, to have it on a flat surface, a desk, or a piece of plywood, a book, or a binder, something that allows the feet to raise it up just enough to get that airflow underneath. However, how many times do we use our notebooks as directed? And not only that, the ThermaPAK cools in two different ways. Yes, it does have those ridges, which raises the notebook and allows that extra airflow to cool the hottest parts of the notebook, but I cannot overstate the efficacy of the phase change material, the heat shift technology, which allows that heat to come into the pad and turn that crystalline stuff into goo, into gel. It really draws heat away from the notebook. In fact, in our lab test, as you saw, we saw that 10 to 30 degree drop in the temperature of the bottom of the notebook, and that's just really, really good. Now, beyond that, this is also a perfect companion to your notebook because not only is it sturdy, not only is it durable, not only is it pretty much maintenance-free. I mean, there's nothing to plug in, there's nothing to reassemble. It's just roll it out and go. But when you pack this with your notebook, it's almost like adding an extra layer of protection because you get this ultra-tough surface that is, cut and stab-proof. And also, since the phase-changing material is, well, it's essentially like a sand. You get that sandbag effect anytime there's impact against your bag, and that's going to protect your notebook. Now, that's not to say that it's perfect. There is one big problem that we had with the ThermaPAK Pad, and it's actually almost a deal breaker, and that is this material that they chose. While it is incredibly strong, it's also really, really smooth. And what that means is that if the feet on your notebook are not well designed, if they don't stick out enough, and they probably don't, your notebook has a tendency to slide. That means that if you're using this on your lap or on a sloped surface, your computer can just slide off, and that's a problem. Now, it's easily remedied. All ThermaPAK has to do is to design the next generation with strips of silicone sewn into these ridges, and that would have the added benefit of not just making this a cooling product, but also a notebook position retention product, meaning that you could stick it on a slope or you could put it on your lap and your laptop is going to stay there. Now, that being said, all the pros and cons, I do believe that this is a really, really good companion for your notebook. If you travel a lot, or if you use your laptop in bed, or if you like to have your laptop on your lap without scalding yourself, the ThermaPAK works incredibly well. And at this price point, at this low price point, it is something that you could just consider tossing into your bag and using whenever you need it. If you want to find out more about the ThermaPAK and how the technology works, you can go to their website at www.thermapak.com. Or you can go to our website at www.thetechstop.net and read our full review. If you click on the Gadget tab, you'll be able to find all of our episodes in high resolution. If you want to send us an email message, you can reach us at gadget@thetechstop.net. Well, I've been your host, Father Robert Balliser. This has been the Center for Apostolic Technology. And remember, there's no Uber Geek without you.